Captain Jack sat back in his worn leather chair, eyes narrowing at the flickering holo display hovering over the table. The room smelled of stale smoke and burnt coffee, comforting reminders of the long months they'd spent scraping by on fringe, contracts and forgotten sectors. His crew crowded around, leaning in, each face etched with a mix of anticipation and dread. Verdant abyss, Jax muttered. The Deathworld no one who's ever set foot there comes back from. Not even the Deathworld units, the name carried weight. Mercenary legend, whispered in seedy bars across the outer colonies. Deathworld units, elite squad sent into planets so hostile they were considered disposable. Rumors said their armor could withstand plasma storms and their biotech melded with alien organisms, but even that wasn't enough. Not a single unit had returned. Jax's comm crackled to life. Captain, you sure you want to do this? Last thing I heard, everyone who's touched that rock's gone missing or dead. His second-in-command, Kira, crossed her arms, her sharp gaze unwavering. We're running low on credits. And that contract, biggest payday in years. A new message flickered on the holo. A ransom-level offer for intel retrieval from a missing Deathworld unit squad. No details, no guarantees. Just an encrypted distress beacon that ended in a scream. The room fell silent. Jax weighed the risk. Verdant Abyss was a planet wrapped in toxic storms, razor-thin atmosphere, and flora that bled poison. The kind of place where machines short-circuited, and even the toughest soldiers broke down. But the money could mean upgrading their ship, better gear, maybe even a chance at a real future. He tapped his fingers against the table. We don't send in a squad because it's safe. We send in because no one else can. If we don't find what's out there, nobody will. And if that squad's still alive, or if something killed them, we need to know. Kira nodded slowly. All right, Captain, let's gear up. We leave at dawn. Outside, the spaceport buzzed, with activity as Jax's crew loaded their ship, the Iron Wolf. The sky above Verdant Abyss churned with violent green storms, crackling with energy that could fry electronics in seconds. The mercenaries worked quickly but carefully, aware that this mission wasn't just about the paycheck. It was a fight for survival. Jax lingered for a moment, scanning the horizon where the stars met the planet's edge. A chill ran down his spine, the kind of chill that told him this wasn't just another job, it was a trap or a test. Remember, Jax said, voice low but steady. Deathworlds don't care who you are. They'll chew you up and spit you out without a second thought. But humans? We adapt, we survive, and that's what they'll remember. The ship's engines roared to life, drowning out the hum of the port. Inside, the crew strapped in, the atmosphere tense but electric. Jack stared out the viewport as the planet grew larger, its storm-racked surface like a living nightmare waiting to swallow them whole. 3 hours later, the Iron Wolf pierced the upper atmosphere of Verdant Abyss. The ship's sensors blinked warnings: acid rain, electromagnetic surges, toxic particulates. The storm hammered the hull, rattling the crew as the planet's brutal nature made its presence known. Suddenly, the ship's external drone launched to scout ahead, slipping through the green haze like a silent predator. Jax's heart thumped. As he watched the drone's feed, a flash of movement, a massive shadow too fast to be any known animal. The drone's signal distorted. The feed broke apart, static flooding the screen. Then, silence. Kira slammed her fist against the console. Drone's gone. Whatever that was, it tore through it like paper. A cold dread settled in the cabin. Jax's voice cut through the tension. That's our first warning. Whatever's down there, it's waiting, and it's not friendly. The crew exchanged looks. No one spoke. They all knew what that meant. The legends were real, but the mercenaries were human, and humans didn't. Back down. Jax gritted his teeth. Prepare for landing. Let's find out what happened to those units, and if we're lucky, we'll be the ones who come back. The Iron Wolf shook violently as it plunged deeper into Verdant Abyss's toxic atmosphere. Acid rain hammered the ship's reinforced hull, sizzling and hissing with every strike. Lightning crackled through the green-tinged sky, illuminating jagged mountains and endless tangles of blackened forests far below. The planet was a nightmare made flesh, alive, hostile, and merciless. Inside the cockpit, Jax gripped the controls, muscles tight as steel cables. Beside him, Kira monitored the systems, her fingers flying over the console. "Hull integrity at 92% and dropping," she said without looking up. "These storms aren't natural. Something's amplifying the electromagnetic surges." Jax swallowed hard. "Keep us steady. We're not turning back now." Behind them, the rest of the crew sat strapped in, the tension palpable. Every man and woman aboard knew the stakes. The mercenaries were no strangers to danger, but verdant abyss tested even their hardened nerves. Somewhere below, the missing Deathworld unit squad was either dead or worse, still alive and trapped. The ship shook again, this time harder. Warning sirens blared. "Impact in 10 seconds, Kira shouted. The Iron Wolf slammed down on the jagged ground with bone-jarring force. Dust and acidic mist whipped around the landing site, and the crew scrambled to stabilize the vessel. Jax exhaled, his breath ragged. "Report." "Minor damage to the port engines, nothing critical," Kira said. "But the storm's got us boxed in. We'll have less than an hour before conditions deteriorate again." Jax nodded. "All right. Drone 2 is out. We're going in on foot." The hatch hissed open, releasing a blast of toxic air and stinging mist. The crew donned their sealed exosuits, each layered with custom filters and reinforced plating. Jax led the way, his boots crunching on the sulfurous soil. The first steps were treacherous. Acid rain fell like needles, sizzling as it met armor. Twisted, blackened plants with razor-sharp thorns reached out from the underbrush. Strange, flickering shapes darted just beyond their vision, predators stalking in the shadows. Suddenly, a guttural roar shattered the air. "Ambush!" Kira yelled. From the dense foliage, hulking beast with jagged claws and luminescent eyes charged. The mercenaries raised their weapons, laser rifles spitting bolts of searing plasma. The creatures shrieked, but their numbers were overwhelming. Jax fired relentlessly, his training sharpening every shot. Still, one beast lunged close, swiping a claw across his leg. Pain flared, but he fought on. "Kira, cover the left flank," Jax barked. The team moved like clockwork, a deadly dance between hunter and hunted. After what felt like an eternity, the beasts retreated into the mist, leaving bloodied but alive mercenaries in their wake. "Status?" Jax demanded. "2 wounded, nothing critical," Kira replied, scanning the perimeter. "But that was too close. Whatever lives here is smarter than we thought." Jax wiped acid sweat from his brow. "This planet's a killer, all right, but the Deathworld unit survived here somehow. We need to find their last location fast." Kira nodded grimly. "I've decrypted part of the distress beacon. It came from a facility to the east. A research outpost, now silent." Jax's eyes narrowed. "Then that's our next stop." The mercenaries pushed onward, navigating twisted canyons and shattered ruins. Strange markings etched into rocks glowed faintly under the green stormlight. The deeper they went, the heavier the air felt, like the planet itself was watching, waiting. Suddenly, their comms crackled. "Captain, you're not going to believe this," said Rin, the team's scout, voice shaky. "I found tracks. Not animal. Human, well, augmented. Someone's been here recently." Jax felt a cold shiver. "Good. That means the Deathworld unit might still be alive, or someone else." Rin's feed showed a faint trail leading into a cavernous fissure, its entrance hidden beneath a curtain of toxic vines. The crew approached cautiously. As they descended, the temperature dropped sharply. Walls pulsed faintly with bioluminescent veins. Somewhere deep below, an ominous hum thrummed, a warning or a beckon. Suddenly, a piercing scream shattered the silence, echoing through the tunnels. "Kira!" Jax shouted. They rushed forward, weapons ready. But as they turned a corner, they found nothing but shadows. Jax's voice was grim. "This planet's alive, and it's hunting us." Behind them, the fissure mouth sealed shut with a deafening crash. Trapped. The crushing slam of rock echoed through the narrow tunnel behind them. Jax spun, heart pounding, to see the jagged stone seal their only exit. Verdant Abyss wasn't just a death world. It was a prison. And now, they were trapped inside. Kira slammed a fist against the rocky wall, frustration burning in her eyes. Great. Just great. We're cut off with no backup in whatever the hell is down here. Jack scanned the dimly glowing cavern. Bioluminescent veins pulsed faintly, casting eerie shadows that danced like restless spirits. The air tasted thick and metallic, making every breath a challenge. We move forward, Jack said firmly. We find the squad, and a way out. They advanced cautiously, weapons raised, senses sharp. Every step echoed ominously, swallowed quickly by the cavern's vastness. The tension was suffocating. No one spoke. The only sound was the distant drip of water and the hum of alien machinery embedded in the walls. Suddenly, Rin froze. Over there. He pointed toward a cluster of abandoned equipment nestled against the cavern's far wall. It was military grade, unmistakably Deathworld unit issue, heavily modified armor, weapons fused with strange biotech, their surfaces slick with an oily residue. Jax knelt beside the gear. They were here not long ago. Kira scanned the area. No bodies, no signs of a firefight, just silence. A low growl rumbled in the distance, reverberating through the tunnels like a warning. Stay sharp, Jax warned. Whatever, killed or captured them, is still nearby. As they pressed deeper, the path narrowed, forcing the mercenaries into a single file line. Ahead, faint flickers of movement caught their eyes, shadows shifting just beyond the reach of their flashlights. Then a figure stumbled into the dim light. He was clad in battered Deathworld armor, his face gaunt and pale beneath the cracked helmet visor. Blood streaked his cheek, his eyes wild, with exhaustion and fear. Who are you? Jax asked, lowering his weapon slightly but not relaxing his stance. The soldier's lips trembled. I'm a survivor. From the unit you're looking for. The room seemed to hold its breath. How? Kira pressed. Everyone else? The man swallowed hard. They didn't die the way you think. Something else got them. Something alive. It wasn't just the planet. It was hiding beneath. Jax's mind raced. The stories of the Deathworld being a natural hellscape didn't add up anymore. The soldier slumped against the wall. I barely escaped. They're still hunting, and it's getting stronger. Kira exchanged a worried glance with Jax. We need to move. Fast. Before they could press for more, a sudden tremor shook the cavern. Dust rained from the ceiling. The hum in the walls deepened into a pulse. A heartbeat, monstrous and alive. The survivor's eyes widened in terror. They're coming, Jax barked orders. Form up. Defensive positions. Stay close. From the darkness erupted a writhing, mass of tentacles shimmering with alien energy, their tips bristling with spikes. The mercenaries opened fire, lasers carving brilliant arcs of light through the gloom. The tentacles writhed and lashed, smashing rock and scraping armor. One tentacle struck Rin, throwing him against the wall. Kira dove to help, blasting the creature until it recoiled. The survivor, gathering strength, rose and joined the fight with a brutal efficiency born of desperation. His biotech enhancements glowed as he tore through the attacking limbs with savage precision. Despite the chaos, Jax's voice cut through. Hold the line. Don't let them flank us. The battle raged for minutes that stretched like hours. Finally, the creatures retreated into the shadows, leaving the mercenaries bloodied but unbroken. Jax knelt beside Rin, checking his pulse. You good? Rin groaned but nodded. Still breathing. The survivor exhaled heavily, eyes dark with resolve. That was just a warning. They control this place, and they're getting smarter. Kira wiped sweat and grime from her face. We can't wait for rescue. We have to find that facility. Maybe it holds answers, or a way to stop this nightmare. Jax met their eyes. We move at first light. Tonight, we rest and prepare. Tomorrow we fight not just to survive, but to uncover the truth behind Verdant, Abyss, and the Deathworld units. As they settled in the cavern's hollow, the eerie glow of alien veins pulsed softly, as if the planet itself was watching, waiting for what came next. The mercenaries woke to the faint hum vibrating through the cavern walls, a subtle but constant reminder that verdant abyss was alive, breathing, and watching. Jax tightened the straps on his armor, muscles aching but mind sharper than ever. Today they'd descend deeper, into the labyrinth beneath the planet's savage surface where the last signals had originated. Kira checked their gear one last time. Filters are holding, but we can't stay long. The toxins here will overwhelm us if we linger. The survivor, whom they'd named Ash, sighed and wiped grime from his face. I know these tunnels. The deeper we go, the more alien the tech. Something was built here, but not by any human. Jax nodded. We find that facility, find out what's controlling this hellhole, and get out. The team plunged forward, their lights piercing the thick darkness. The tunnels twisted unpredictably, carved from rock but lined with strange metal panels etched with glowing glyphs. Walls pulsed softly, alive with an otherworldly energy that made the hair on their necks stand. Feels like the planet's heartbeat, murmured Rin the scout, his voice barely above a whisper. Suddenly the ground shifted beneath their boots, a subtle vibration that rippled into a low growl echoing from the depths. Jax raised a hand. Hold! The team froze as a crack split the floor, revealing a narrow chasm. Kira scanned it carefully. Gravity's fluctuating, we're gonna need to be careful. They found an ancient ladder bolted into the wall, rusty but intact. One by one they descended into the abyss. Below, the air was colder, heavier. Walls were lined with bioluminescent vines pulsating in rhythmic waves, illuminating a vast chamber filled with alien machinery. Massive arrays of cables and crystalline nodes humming in unison. Jax's jaw clenched. This is what's powering the planet. This thing isn't natural. Kira stepped forward, her fingertips brushing over a console that flickered with holographic data. Alien biotech, energy readings off the charts. It's a prison, something locked down deep in the planet's core. Ash's eyes darkened. That's why the Deathworld units were sent here, to contain it. But it's waking. Suddenly, the chamber shuddered violently. Warning lights flared across the panels and a low guttural sound grew louder, a living growl emanating from the very bowels of the planet. Get back! Jax shouted as the walls rippled, twisting like liquid metal. From the shadows emerged tendrils of shifting darkness, crackling with energy and dripping with corrosive ichor. The mercenaries opened fire. Lasers seared through the tendrils, but they seemed almost to absorb the blasts, growing stronger with each hit. One tendril lashed at Kira, knocking her off balance. She rolled and fired a pulse grenade that detonated with a blinding flash, giving her a moment to scramble back. We can't keep this up, Rin shouted, dodging another strike. Jax's mind raced. Focus on the crystalline nodes. If we disrupt the power source, maybe we can weaken it. They concentrated their fire, targeting the glowing crystals embedded in the machinery. Explosions rocked the chamber as shards shattered, and the tendrils shrieked in fury. For a brief moment, the pulsing energy faded. The darkness recoiled, writhing as if wounded. But then, the ground beneath them cracked open again and a monstrous form rose, a creature woven from shadow and metal, its eyes blazing with cold intelligence. Jax's voice was steady despite the adrenaline surging through his veins. This is what the Deathworld units were up against, and now it's awake. The creature lunged, a blur of claws and corrosive acid. The mercenaries scattered, firing on every angle, their shots echoing through the cavern. Ash charged forward, his biotech limbs glowing as he slammed a reinforced gauntlet into the beast's side. The creature howled in rage but retaliated with a swipe that sent Ash crashing into a wall. Kira rushed to help, dragging Ash away while Jax and Rin laid down covering fire. The battle raged with brutal intensity, every second a desperate gamble. The mercenaries fought not just for their lives, but for the fate of anyone who might come after. Finally, with a coordinated blast, the mercenaries destroyed the last crystalline node. The creature screamed, staggering before dissolving into writhing shadows that vanished into the walls. The chamber fell eerily silent, the oppressive hum fading into a dull drone. Jax leaned heavily on his rifle, breathing hard. We've bought ourselves time. But this thing's not gone. It's adapting. Kira scanned their gear. We've got enough data from the console to send back, but we need to get out. Now. Ash nodded grimly. And warn anyone who's listening. Verdant Abyss isn't just a death world. It's a trap. A prison for something that should never be released. Jax's eyes burned with resolve. Then we finish this fight, one way or another. They gathered what they could and began their slow, cautious climb back to the surface. The caverns, pulsating walls fading behind them. But the feeling of unseen eyes tracking their every move stayed with them. The climb back to the surface felt endless, the oppressive weight of verdant abyss pressing down on the mercenaries. Every step was a battle against exhaustion and creeping doubt. The toxic storms outside the cavern awaited them like a cruel sentinel, reminding them of the fragile barrier between life and oblivion. Jax's leg throbbed fiercely where the beast had struck, but he refused to slow down. The data from the alien console burned in his mind, a treasure trove of knowledge about the planet's secret and a warning of its terrible power. Kira, how's our comlink? He asked. She shook her head, frustration clear in her voice. Still weak. The planet's electromagnetic interference is jamming everything. I can send bursts, but no guarantee anyone hears. Ash limped alongside them, pale but determined. If we don't get out, it won't matter. As they neared the cavern's mouth, the sound of distant thunder rolled in. The storm was returning faster than anticipated. Move faster, Jax ordered. The Iron Wolf sat battered but intact on the landing site, shrouded by the thick, acidic mist. The crew scrambled aboard, sealing the hatch just as the sky opened up with a vicious downpour of acid rain and lightning. Jax slammed the cockpit controls, initiating takeoff. The engines roared against the tempest, but the storm battered the ship mercilessly. Suddenly, the hull shuddered violently. Something huge was moving beneath the surface, responding to their intrusion. Sensors detect massive movement underground, Kira reported, voice tight. We're not alone down there. Jax clenched his jaw. We woke something primal, something territorial. The ship lurched as the storm intensified, visibility dropping to near zero. Outside, the swirling green clouds crackled with energy, tendrils of lightning striking the ground like angry fingers. Hold tight, Jax commanded. The Iron Wolf tore through the toxic atmosphere, engines screaming as the planet's fury tried to pull them down. Inside, the crew fought to keep control, their eyes flicking nervously to the sensor readouts that tracked shifting masses beneath them. After a tense, heart-stopping ascent, the storm finally relented. Verdant abyss shrank behind them, a savage world left temporarily behind but not conquered. Back on the ship, the mood was grim. The survivor, Ash, slumped in the corner, drained but alive. Kira worked feverishly to decrypt the data they'd retrieved. Jax stared at the flickering console, a plan forming in his mind. We have to get this data to command. The Deathworld units were sent to contain something that could threaten the entire sector. Kira nodded. If the intel reaches the right hands, maybe we can get reinforcements, better gear. But they won't send just anyone. Rin, still nursing bruises, muttered, We're the best chance they've got. A new alert flashed on the screen, an encrypted message from command. Jax opened it cautiously. Captain Jax, we received your signal. You've uncovered something classified and dangerous. Extraction teams are being readied, but understand this. No one has returned from Verdant Abyss before. You're the first. Jax's jaw tightened. Then we make sure we're not the last. As the Iron Wolf charted a course to the nearest safe haven, the crew gathered to discuss their next move. We can't wait for reinforcements, Jax said. The creature down there is evolving. Whatever it is, it's learning from us. Ash looked up, eyes haunted. There's more. The data shows the planet was once a research outpost, human and alien scientists working together. They were experimenting with biotech to create super soldiers, but something went wrong. Kira added, the Deathworld units were deployed to contain the outbreak, but the experiment, it didn't die. It adapted, merged with the planet itself. Jax clenched his fists. So Verdant Abyss isn't just a death world, it's a weapon turned prison. And that weapon is awake. The crew fell silent. the weight of that truth settling over them like a shadow. Rin broke the silence. If it's still spreading, we've got to stop it before it reaches populated worlds. Jax looked at each of them. We're not just mercenaries anymore. We're the front line. Night fell outside the ship's viewport as the Iron Wolf raced through the void, but inside, a new fire burned, a fierce determination to face whatever horrors lay ahead, because humanity didn't back down from Deathworlds. Humanity fought to survive, and humanity fought to win. The sterile glow of the Iron Wolf's command deck hummed quietly as the ship cruised through space. Outside the viewport, distant stars glittered coldly, indifferent to the battles raging on the fringes of civilization. Inside, the crew sat, tense, the weight of verdant abyss's secret pressing down on them like a dark cloud. Jack stood over the decrypted data, the flickering holographic map showing the facility's layout deep beneath the planet's surface. The images revealed sterile corridors, labs filled with alien and human tech intertwined, biotech graphs fused with machinery, strange organisms suspended in tanks, and horrifying experiments gone awry. Kira scrolled through the files. This wasn't just a research station. It was a weapons facility. They were trying to create a new kind of soldier, enhanced with alien DNA and biotech. The Deathworld units were the first test subjects. Ash's face grew pale. The outbreak started when one of the prototypes escaped containment. It wasn't just an accident, it was a catastrophe born from arrogance. Jax's jaw tightened. So the Deathworld units weren't just lost. They were casualties of a failed experiment. And now whatever survived is fighting to survive itself. Rin leaned forward, eyes sharp. We need to know what this creature really is. If it's evolving that fast, it could adapt to anything, our weapons, our tactics. Kira nodded. The data suggests it's a hybrid. Part biotech, part living organism, part artificial intelligence. It's not just alive, it's self-aware. Jax's mind raced. A sentient weapon born from human hubris. That explains why it's so dangerous and why it's bound to the planet. Suddenly, the ship's alarms blared. Red lights flashed. Multiple incoming contacts, Kira announced, voice urgent. Unknown ships approaching fast. Jax snapped to attention. Hostile? Unknown. No identification signals. The crew scrambled to battle stations as the sensor blips grew larger, closing in with deadly speed. Prepare for evasive maneuvers, Jax ordered. Outside the viewport, sleek vessels emerged from the darkness, black as void, their surfaces shifting with adaptive camouflage. They moved with lethal precision, firing plasma bursts that scorched the Iron Wolf's shields. Shields holding at 70%, Kira reported, fingers flying over the console. We can't take much. More. Jax gritted his teeth. Return fire, target their engines. The Iron Wolf rocked as laser bolts exchanged in a deadly dance. The mercenaries fought with desperate skill, but the attackers were relentless. In the midst of the battle, Ash's voice cut through the chaos. Those ships, they're not from any faction I know, but their tech. It's similar to the biotech, from Verdant Abyss. Jax's heart sank. They're after the same thing we are, or maybe they want to claim the weapon for themselves. Kira maneuvered the ship expertly, dodging blasts and firing back with precision. We're losing shields fast, we need to break contact. Hold on, Jax shouted as he calculated a risky jump vector. Prepare for a hyperspace jump. The countdown began. 5, 4, 3, 2. Just as the Iron Wolf initiated the jump, a sudden explosion rocked the ship. The lights flickered and alarms screamed. Critical damage to the reactor, Kira yelled. If we don't stabilize it, we're dead in space. Jack slammed his fist into the console. Rin, with me. We're going to the engine room. The two mercenaries raced through the ship's corridors, dodging debris and warning sirens. The engine room was chaos, sparks flying, coolant leaking, machinery groaning under strain. Rin quickly accessed the control panel. I can reroute power through the auxiliary system, but it's unstable. Jax nodded grimly. Do it. We don't have a choice. As the reactor stabilized, the Iron Wolf slipped into hyperspace. The enemy ships vanished like ghosts, Their pursuit thwarted, but the threat far from over. Back on the bridge, Kira wiped sweat from her brow. We made it, but they'll be back. Jax looked at the crew, resolve hardening his features. This fight is bigger than any of us imagined. Whoever sent those ships knows about Verdant Abyss, and they want what's down there. Ash stepped forward, voice steady despite exhaustion. We've uncovered a weapon that could change the balance of power in the galaxy. We're the only ones who can stop it. Jax met their gaze. Then we don't just survive, we end this. For the Deathworld units, for humanity. As the Iron Wolf sped toward its next destination, the crew prepared for a war they never expected, but one they had no choice but to win. The Iron Wolf drifted silently in orbit above the mining colony on Nova Primus, a distant outpost known for its raw resources and for harboring those willing to live on the edge. It was here the mercenaries planned to regroup, gather intel, and prepare for the final assault on Verdant Abyss. But peace was a fragile illusion. Jax scanned the holographic map of the colony's surface. Command's reinforcements aren't coming. The higher-ups see this as too dangerous. We're on our own. Kira slammed a fist into the console, frustration and fear etched on her face. We barely made it out alive last time. Without backup, this is suicide. Ash's eyes hardened. Suicide or not, we can't let that weapon fall into the wrong hands. Every day it lives is another day it grows stronger. The crew gathered in the cramped briefing room, the weight of their mission pressing down like gravity. Rin spoke quietly. We've lost good people already. Every Deathworld unit that vanished was a warning we didn't heed. Jax looked around at his team, their faces pale but determined. We're not just fighting for survival anymore. We're fighting to stop an extinction event. That night, the colony's dim lights flickered as a storm raged outside. Inside the Iron Wolf, Kira worked tirelessly, hacking into encrypted networks, searching for any information on the unknown enemy that had attacked them in space. Got something, she whispered, eyes scanning the data. It's a syndicate called the Black Veil. They specialize in bioweapons and mercenary tech. They've been tracking Verdant Abyss for years. Jax frowned. If they're this close, they're going to strike soon. We need to hit first. Suddenly, the ship's alarms screamed again. The comms crackled to life. Unidentified vessels. Entering orbit, Kira reported, dread creeping into her voice. Jax grabbed his rifle. Battle stations, they're here. Outside, Black Veil ships descended like vultures, sleek and lethal, bristling with weapons. Plasma bolts raked the Iron Wolf's hull, shaking the ship violently. Return fire, Jax commanded. The crew fought desperately, but the Black Veil ships pressed their advantage. Boarding pods slammed into the hull, breaching the defenses. Prepare for boarding. Kira yelled. Jax, Ash, and Rin formed a tight perimeter, guns blazing as enemy mercenaries poured through the airlock. The battle turned brutal in close quarters, each fight a desperate struggle for survival. Amid the chaos, Ash was hit, a plasma bolt searing his arm. He gritted his teeth, refusing to fall. We have to seal the breach, Jax shouted. Rin sprinted to the control panel, fingers flying as he rerouted power and locked bulkheads. The corridors filled with smoke and sparks. After what felt like an eternity, the breach was sealed. The Black Veil mercenaries retreated, leaving the Iron Wolf battered but still afloat. Ash leaned heavily against Jax. We can't keep running. Jax nodded, blood smeared across his armor. No, we take the fight to them. The next day, under a blood-red dawn, the mercenaries made their move. Using stolen Black Veil intel, they located the Syndicate's forward base on a rocky moon, orbiting Verdant Abyss. The assault was swift and brutal. Jax led the charge, every step fueled by fury and resolve. The Syndicate fighters were well trained, but they underestimated the mercenaries' desperation and their humanity. In the heart of the base, Kira hacked the mainframe, downloading schematics and weapon blueprints. The Black Veil had been trying to replicate the Verdant Abyss biotech, an army of weapons to unleash on the galaxy. We destroy this, Jax said grimly. No one gets this tech. Explosions rocked the base as alarms blared. The mercenaries fought their way back to the extraction point, the facility collapsing behind them in a fiery blaze. Back on the Iron Wolf, wounded but unbroken, Jax addressed his crew. We've dealt a blow to the Black Veil, but this war isn't over. Verdant abyss waits, and so does the weapon beneath its surface. Ash, bandaged but alert, added, We've faced death and come back. Now we finish this. Kira looked out the viewport at the swirling storm below. Whatever happens next, we do it together. Jax's voice was steady, fierce. Because we're human, we don't back down. We survive. We fight. We win.